Alright, so the very first fundamental we will be practicing is form. So, first of all, what is form? Since this is our very first iteration on it. Form is, as you can see here, it's really understanding how things feel and are. What can you understand what they are? Can you draw through it? Can you feel it? Do you know what this shape inside and out? Can you draw it at any angle? That's really form. I think is the most foundational, fundamental, because everything else, without form, everything else kind of is formless. If you don't understand form, how can you ever expect to shade an object if you don't know what that object's space is? If you don't understand the very 3D-ness of that object itself, how can you shade it? Because you don't understand it, right? So how can you put it in perspective if you don't understand how can you put form in perspective if you don't, or how could you, what am I trying to say? How could you create a perspective drawing if you don't even have an understanding of form? Because you can't place something you don't really understand that well into perspective because you don't understand it. So I believe that form is the most probably important thing to learn first, because everything else you kind of need to know form for. So I've included these three links in the description of sources for you to check out for yourself. This is a really good one of some exercises that we're going to do for drawing form, or really practicing form and understanding it. And there's this place, which the drawing website from, I'm not sure who this is, Lewis. He provides a really nice explanation and everything that you want to know about form. And he has some really good examples of like how you can eventually use form. Like if you understand form, you can create characters like this, and you can it's a lot easier to iterate or to develop and create different things, because you can build them out of really basic shapes and stuff. So these are some sources that I read over and what I'm basing my exercises off. Also, Dropbox is an incredible place to go to learn form. It's basically all about form and perspective and technique. So this is what I looked over, and so we're going to practice form, practice how we understand shapes. We have some exercises here we can do that I wrote down if I can find my notes. So the first one is basically doing this here on the left, as you can see. Excuse me. Level 1 is the most basic thing you can do, and excuse me. Sorry, I don't know where this came from. It's hard to do, but it's also really important to be able to draw really basic shapes from any angle. So that's the first thing I want, or the first exercise I'm going to give you for this session, or this 2-week session of studying form, is we're going to be drawing really basic shapes. And if you find even doing this is really difficult, that's okay, because you're a noob. Like everyone is a noob, and you just keep practicing it, and you'll get better over time. So basically, for this, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of basic shapes. I think Lewis goes over it in this. All the basic shapes. There's spheres, which is you got a sphere here, right? That's a terrible sphere, and you can draw through it. Let's get that a little cleaner. I don't recommend doing this where you have I recommend trying to freehand this all, because that's an important thing to learn to draw from your shoulder. Is a really important thing, and being able to draw cylinders like that, even though it's not perfect, is really important. And I'm only doing this, drawing this sphere like this with using computer stuff, is because it's for demonstration purposes. But this is like, you know, a sphere. This is essentially what you're going to try to do with freehand. You're going to try and draw this sphere and draw its shape. So basically what that is that's the overall sphere, and then I'm drawing a form line or a line around it to imagine it as it's a wireframe, really. And basically you can see through this form, and so we're trying to really show the viewer that this form has very 3D space, because if you just did this, well, it's just a circle, there's not really any depth to it. Whereas if you add that, well, now it's, well, that's kind of bad, but if you add like this, it's showing that there is form to it, or there's depth to it. Like you can see it, thinking of it from a wireframe, it has a very spherical shape. So there's your first, whoops, there's your first basic shape, is spheres, right? Whatever. The next one would be cylinders. And cylinders are quite simple to do. I highly recommend going through Drawbox if you really want to have a deeper understanding of this. For now, we're just starting really simple for studying form. So for drawing cylinders, well, you just basically 2 ellipses, and then you're connecting them together like that. And you can, you know, like in this example here on the left, you can deform them in many ways, right? You can have a crazy cylinder that's like going all over. And of course, if you draw this form, whoops, draw those wired frames around it to really show the form. Really great thing. So you can draw all kinds of cylinders. That's the other basic form. And there's cubes, which is, you know, you're just drawing drawing a cube. Pretty easy. For me, anyway. It's pretty easy once you do it a lot. Like I've done this many times. I've drawn many cubes in my life from Drawbox. And I want you to, also for this exercise, I want you to draw through your form. So don't just draw a cube like this, but also draw through it, because this will help you understand. And by draw through it, I mean you're drawing that back edge too of this cube. You can erase away that. So I want you to draw through it like that. So basically it's like a wireframe, or think of it as it's made out of glass, so you can see all the edges of the cube. Even if it was like, for example, if I can find something like this heater. If you can't see the back of this heater, it's a square, it's a cube shape. You can't see the very, if I can find it, you can't see the very back corner of this because, you know, it's being obstructed. What I want you to do is to imagine that this is made out of glass or see-through, so you can see that back edge, and so you're drawing that. So we're drawing, you know, we draw through our forms in the sense that we can see all of them. That's a really whack cube, it looks weird. Let's draw a better one. But yeah, cubes and rectangles, all kinds of things. You can draw really long ones, really skinny ones, whatever. Basically, oh, don't forget to draw through it. Whoops. This cube is wrong as well, but that's okay. So basically, those are your cubes, and then there's, you know, wedges, which is a 3-sided cube. Which is pretty simple. You just basically draw the bottom of a cube and then place a spot, and then you get your wedge. And of course we're drawing through our forms. So you got a wedge there. Or like, you think of them as triangles. And you don't necessarily even have to think about these in perspective yet. We're not practicing this perspective right now. We're just drawing forms, so we're trying to understand forms right now. So those are your basic shapes. What I want you to do is basically just this here. Just draw a bunch of these on a page every day. Just draw some really simple shapes. I also want you to do it from reference as well, so like we can look up some simple shapes references online. I think these are perfect. You can take these, or whatever, just grab something and just draw these from a reference, like preferably from a real reference. It's okay to draw from others. Like this is a good one, and we can try to. It's like, okay, I see that cube. This is what this cube actually looks like in reality, or that sphere or that cylinder. And I'm going to try and replicate that, right? So I'll do all that, there's that. And then we're not considering any about the values or shading or anything. We're just looking at that form and understanding that form. And you can also add in like those, or these form lines, I suppose, really help you understand that there's, to really show the geometry, really is what you're doing with when you add those inner lines. And that comes in really handy for when you're doing organic shapes or even twisting stuff, because it helps show more context of what those planes are doing. So then we can draw a cone, whatever. So basically we're just drawing from reference basic shapes. And I'm doing this really roughly and quickly. Like I want you to take more time and care in doing this. And of course make sure you draw through. So you have to really imagine the whole side. Even though we can't see the backside of that cube, we have to imagine it and draw it in. You got your sphere. You can show your sphere. But if you're having trouble understanding this, check out the sources I've linked. Those explain it really well as well. And then it might help you understand how you're going to do these exercises. So that's your first exercise, draw simple shapes. We're not going to touch on organic forms right on this week. Next time around we'll probably touch organic forms, just because that's another step in the form direction. If you really want to, you can. I would suggest not, and just focusing really on your basic stuff, all of your basics. So that's your first exercise, is draw simple stuff like this, draw things from reference, simple shapes from reference, and also I want you to find other things like, for example, this water bottle, real things that aren't simple shapes, and convert them to simple shapes from reference. So like if I search a water bottle on here, like one of these, I can simplify these to basic forms. So like if I'm drawing that blue one, it's just a cylinder, right? So I'm just going to draw a cylinder. Gosh. There's the base of the water bottle. And it looks like it has another cylinder on top of that cylinder. Let's add another cylinder. And in basic forms, this is a water bottle. That's, again, a really quick and dirty way to do it. So try to take more time and care. I'll do a demonstration of this. That's taking a lot more care in this. Right now I'm just kind of explaining the exercises. So we can do that. So yeah, draw some simple forms from reference. Imagine simple forms. And here's another thing I want you to do. Once you draw something from reference like this, take this form and imagine it in a different position. So I'm going to imagine this water bottle kind of a top-down almost view. And so I'm drawing a cylinder that's facing me, and then I know there's a top cylinder on top of that cylinder. So I'm just going to draw that cylinder here. Oops. Basically just try to draw it from a different angle. Try to kind of move it around and rotate it and really understand how that form exists and how it works. And it's really hard to do sometimes, but it'll be good for you. So, this will be our first study. So let's go ahead and do an actual, how I want you to actually do it without me just rushing through it all. So the first exercise, we're just going to draw really simple shapes, okay? So I know what a cube is, a cylinder, cone, all that stuff. So I'm just going to fill my page with cubes and stuff. Don't forget to draw through your form and really see and understand it. I'm just going to clean this up a little. Oops, don't want to get rid of that. Oops, nope. Get rid of that there. This is the first cube. Now I'm going to draw some cylinders. Just draw a couple cylinders. These are just really basic, really simple forms. Nothing crazy. If you feel like going crazy, go crazy. But really the main focus is just to understand these forms. I'm going to go ahead and throw another ellipse in here to really show that this has a elliptical form. And now let's draw another cylinder somewhere. Maybe I'll curve this cylinder a little. Let's draw a pyramid. Whoops, that was wrong. So pyramid top's going to be right there. So I'll draw it to that. So there's the pyramid. Let's do a wedge. A wedgie. Maybe the top will be straight and the back will be slanted. There we go. Let's throw in a sphere in here. Not bad. Let's do another one. Alright, now let's go ahead and throw some ellipses around these to show that they have form and they aren't just circles, flat circles. Draw another cube. And you don't have to do this digitally or anything, you can do it on paper. So, I mean, by no means you are not required to have any sort of digital tools. It's just what I'm using. And heck, your cubes can even be all whack like this. The whole point of this is just to get an idea of how form works and where it goes. So let's draw a freaking crazy cube here. In this case, this would have like a weird thing right there too. But just create simple geometry. Simple cylinders. You can even start to twist and tilt them and stuff. Heck, we can do a 3-cylinder. You know, just fill a page with simple shapes. Now, what was the next one? I've already forgotten it. Simple forms from reference, alright? So, yeah, if we go back to those, the other one. Simple forms. Wrong kind of forms. References. What did I search for? Simple shapes references. Here we go. Pick one of these. That's really low res. Let's grab this one. We'll draw this from reference. We'll draw a bunch of these from reference, so we can really see what an actual cylinder looks like in realness or computer generatedness, like this one is. So you can see this is a cylinder. That was a bad cylinder. There we go. Yeah, it's pretty trash, but that's okay. We can draw our sphere. And then our cube. That's too high or too low. We can do this. We're going to draw through our forms. A little bit of whack, that's okay. We got ourselves a cone. Right, okay, so we got our basic forms from reference. And you can draw from those as much as until you feel comfortable drawing them from imagination, I suppose. So you could probably do this one first, this exercise first, before you do the drawing from imagination. And then we can just pick something like objects. Like, let's see, something a little simpler. We can go with this one. So let's draw this pot here on the left, or whatever the heck that is, and that one too. So we're drawing more. Once you get a basic idea of how to draw simple forms, you can try to break these down into simple forms. Like this, I see a sphere and a cone. And this one, just mainly a sphere. We can put a little cylinder on top if we wanted. Same with that one in the bottom. So here, so first off, I see a sphere. And then I see a cone, which has a top, like that. Oops. Right, and then we can do another cylinder on top of this. So the top of the cylinder is a little wider, and the bottom, just a cylinder on the bottom. It's really messy, you can't really see that, but it's okay. So for the second one, I just see basically a fat sphere, like that, maybe a little thinner, but and then on the top there's just a little cylinder. We're just going to simplify to a basic cylinder like that. There we go. We got ourselves a pot. And now what I can do, once I've done this enough, that's the exercise of drawing from reference. Once I feel like comfortable doing that, then go ahead and start trying to rotate. Like, so if I were to rotate that one, and I rotate it over here, so the sphere would basically be the same always, but maybe the head is I don't know, right here or right there, or maybe it's on the other side where you can't see it, so I draw right there and it's going down that way, and there's the head. Maybe if we're drawing this one from a different view, the sphere is going to be the same because spheres look the same on all sides, and maybe I'll have it coming out this way, so I'll draw my cone along here, and add a cylinder with a wide mat top. Do that. Alright, so that's what you can do. So these are your exercises that I'm giving you to do, to practice this week. 1, draw cubes, or draw simple shapes from imagination. Draw through your forms so you can see all the way through them. 2 is to draw from reference. And 3 is to take that reference and rotate it in your imagination, and somehow, without reference, you're creating another thing. And that's your assignment for these 2 weeks. And if you feel that's too simple, then you can look at these sources, and you can, like, this is a really good one. You can try to do organic forms, and you can try combining forms if you want to. I recommend just trying to master this first before you move on. And 2 weeks is a pretty solid amount of time. And by 2 weeks I mean like an hour or 2 a day practicing this specific thing. So yeah, that's going to be our first thing. I'm going to be doing this too. I may be doing organic forms as well and combined forms because I've practiced these first things quite a bit already. Because I've gone through all of Drawbox. But this is going to be our first exercise. And yeah, so we will move on from here. Yeah, cool. I hope this helped you. I hope I provided you with some structure of what to practice. And yeah, let's get to it.